Well, it's always a privilege to be with you. I've been at this podium in this room on a couple of occasions. Business Council of Alabama has been very kind to me, not only in their support, but also in their leadership, which is very important to those of us who serve in the Alabama legislature, that we have those friends that we can call on and understand will give us wise advice, give us all the details, the pros, the cons, the ups, the downs, and I appreciate that about many of you that are in this room today, and certainly about Business Council of Alabama. We have legislation this week that I'm carrying in the Senate, that Dr. McClendon is carrying in the House, that is the reform of Alabama Medicaid. But it is going to be in committee on Wednesday. We're going to have another public hearing. We've had one public hearing to give anybody and everybody that wanted to have something to say about this legislation an opportunity in the House chamber back before the break. And so now we're going through our normal process in being able to have the bill in committee. Medicaid is very important not only to the Medicaid beneficiaries and the recipients, but it is very important to the infrastructure of health care for all of us throughout Alabama. Now, the other issue is that Medicaid has continued to grow in the number of recipients in Alabama that receive those benefits. That is now up to 940,000 Alabamians that receive Medicaid benefits. This has grown from 25% to 36% of the general fund budget. And as you all are aware, the general fund budget needs some additional relief. We're having trouble making ends meet and have for several years, and will continue as time moves along. Commercial managed care folks that have a lot of experience, those in the nursing home business, the hospitals in Alabama, physicians, providers of all kinds, pharmacists, on and on and on, have all given their thought and opinion. But the one thing that has been a hallmark of the entire conversation is that the system that we have currently does not work. The fee-for-service system is outdated. It must be revised and changed, reformed. So what are we doing with this legislation? We're basically saying we're going to move to a regional care organization type format. There will be up to 8 regions in the state of Alabama that will be divided actuarially by Medicaid in a scientific format to be able to determine that these regions are going to be as capable of being risk-bearing as possible. Once those are put together and the decisions are made on what the regions are, then there is a specific timeline within the legislation that allows these regions and the providers within to come together and say, we want to do this in our area. We're going to raise our hand because we want to move forward to be a provider in this particular region. And with that format, you wind up with a goal by 2017, and there's several different timelines along that path, from a preliminary or a probationary type status for a regional care organization all the way to a full certification, allowing for that entity to become a risk-bearing entity, whereas there is a cap for the state of Alabama to be placed on what that care would be for that number of patients. If you give me an opportunity to do my best, to be able to exercise the ingenuity, skill, knowledge, and experience that I have, then I'm going to be able to do that in a way that allows for the best possible outcome in that setting, and as a result of doing that, I make more money, okay? And so there is an incentive that's there. The healthier that we can keep people, the less care that they need, the better opportunity it is for those that are providing the care. And what does the state of Alabama and the taxpayers of our state receive? They receive a better, more effective, more efficient system that as time goes along is going to cost less because people are going to be healthier, and it's a win-win across the board. Is this going to be a cakewalk kind of a program when you take this big a piece of legislation and try and move it through the Alabama legislature? Probably not. There are going to be folks that have a lot of interest. There are going to be those that will agree with portions and maybe disagree with other portions. And I am listening, available, looking for opportunities to be able to make the legislation and the program the best that it can possibly be.
You know, Senator Reid and I wouldn't even be here, and you guys, or maybe we'd be here, but we'd be talking about something else if it wasn't for a money problem. We have some looming financial issues that we're dealing with. one that's foremost in our mind as legislators and budget writers is 2015. We're going to have a $100 million shortfall in 2015. That's a real number too. That's really the issue. If we had all the money in the world, we probably wouldn't be here. We'd just be doing fee for service, and when you send your claim in, we'd send you a check. But something's got to be done about that. Not only to take the pressure off the legislature to come up with the money, but to take the pressure off the taxpayers who ultimately have to come up with the money. One of the things that Senator Reed alluded to is the risk. Here's the risk. The state's at risk right now. When a hospital or a provider sends a claim in, it's up to the state to come up with the money to pay it. Now, the ultimate goal of this new legislation is to move the risk away from the state and move it out into the regional areas. But if we can ever move the risk and move it out into these regional care organizations, then we will have our state budget on a far sounder financial footing than we are right now. I think the progress of these bills through the legislature is going to be most interesting to see how our fellow legislators deal with an extremely esoteric topic.